Zimbabwe is not a papacy. ZANU-PF insists Vice President Chiwenga is not an anointed successor. Harare, Zimbabwe's ruling ZANU-PF has issued a firm dismissal of claims that the ongoing push to extend President Emmerson Mnangagwa's term is part of a covert strategy to sideline or bypass his deputy, Vice President Constantino Chiwenga. In a fiery defense of the ruling party's democratic image, ZANU-PF spokesperson Christopher Mutsvangwa, a former ambassador to China and veteran of the liberation struggle, declared that Zimbabwe is not a papacy, stressing that no one in the party has been anointed to succeed Mnangagwa. This is not a papacy. This is not cardinals in Rome sitting in a cabal deciding who succeeds the Pope, Mutsvangwa told SAD News. This is a democratic, constitutionally run country. Leadership is determined by the people through elections. Mutsvangwa's remarks come amid growing speculation within political circles that ZANU-PF's controversial resolution to extend Mnangagwa's rule to 2030 is a strategic move designed to delay or block Chiwenga's anticipated rise to power. But the outspoken party spokesman was quick to dismiss such claims, describing them as wishful thinking and insisting that the vice presidency does not guarantee succession. It is not that we do not want him, Mutsvangwa said of Chiwenga. He can declare his candidacy if he wishes. But in Zimbabwe, there is no automatic elevation from vice president to president. People must vote. He emphasized that ZANU-PF remains a democratic movement guided by the constitution and electoral mandate, not by political inheritance or military hierarchy. Why this obsession with one person? Mutsvangwa asked. There are many capable leaders within ZANU-PF who may one day want to contest. No one is anointed. This is not Rome, this is Zimbabwe. The term extension debated. The remarks follow intense backlash against ZANU-PF's decision at its recent National People's Conference in Mutare to adopt a resolution pushing for a constitutional amendment that would allow President Mnangagwa to remain in power beyond his current term, which expires in 2028. The proposal, presented as part of the government's Vision 2030 development blueprint, has been met with both domestic and international criticism, with opponents calling it a constitutional coup designed to entrench one-man rule. Civil society groups, opposition leaders, and legal analysts have warned that tampering with term limits risks plunging Zimbabwe into deeper political instability and eroding what remains of its democratic institutions. Even within ZANU-PF, the proposal has reignited rumors of factional rivalry, especially between Mnangagwa and Chiwenga, who has long been viewed as a likely successor since helping orchestrate the 2017 military intervention that ousted Robert Mugabe. Greediness knows no boundaries. Former cabinet minister and one-time ZANU-PF political commissar Xavier Kazakor, speaking from exile, was among the harshest critics of the move. Mnangagwa is dreaming, Kazakor said in an interview. He has set himself up for a gigantic failure. Greediness knows no boundaries, and this will end in disaster for the country. Kazakor, who fled Zimbabwe after the 2017 coup, warned that extending Mnangagwa's rule could backfire both politically and economically, deepening divisions within the ruling party and alienating the electorate. Reactions at home and abroad. The resolution has triggered mixed reactions among Zimbabweans both at home and in the diaspora. Opposition activists and pro-democracy groups warn that extending Mnangagwa's rule risks cementing authoritarianism, while others argue it could jeopardize relations with international donors already skeptical of Harare's reform commitments. In South Africa, where millions of Zimbabwean migrants reside, the news has stirred frustration and concern. Some in the diaspora fear that continued political stagnation will delay much-needed economic recovery and force even more Zimbabweans to leave their homeland. This extension shows that ZANU-PF doesn't want generational leadership change, said one Zimbabwean community leader in Johannesburg. They want to recycle power forever. However, Mnangagwa's supporters argue that continuity is essential for the success of national development plans, citing progress in infrastructure, agriculture, and energy projects under his administration. A Vision 2030 needs stability at the top, said a ZANU-PF Youth League member. You can't change leadership halfway through such a long-term economic transformation. Regional implications. Analysts warn that Zimbabwe's political direction could have ripple effects across southern Africa, particularly as regional bodies like the Southern African Development Community (SADC) and the African Union continue to stress the importance of constitutional order. Observers note that several African nations, including Uganda, Cameroon, and Rwanda, have used constitutional amendments to extend presidential terms, often sparking unrest or coups. Zimbabwe risks joining a dangerous pattern of constitutional manipulation, said Harare-based political analyst Dr. Tende Moyo. It may appear legal, but it undermines legitimacy, and once public trust collapses, instability follows. What happens next if ZANU-PF proceeds with its plan? Justice Minister Sayambai will table the constitutional amendment in Parliament, where the party holds a two-thirds majority, enough to push the changes through without opposition support. However, doing so could trigger legal challenges and protests, while placing Harare under heightened scrutiny from the international community. Despite the growing tension, President Mnangagwa has repeatedly described himself as a constitutionalist, insisting he will step down when his term ends, though his silence on the party's resolution has fueled speculation that he quietly supports it. For Vice President Chiwenga, the message from ZANU-PF's leadership is clear. No crown will be handed over, it must be won at the ballot box. As if he wants to lead, let him campaign, Mutsvangwa reiterated. Zimbabwe is not a papacy. Leadership is earned, not inherited. The bigger picture. As the nation edges closer to the 2028 election cycle, Zimbabwe finds itself at a crossroads, torn between promises of reform and the persistent grip of political continuity. With inflation rising, unemployment soaring, and young people losing faith in both government and opposition, many Zimbabweans fear that political maneuvering at the top is distracting from the urgent task of national recovery. Whether Mnangagwa's extended stay in power becomes a symbol of stability, or the spark for renewed turmoil, may depend on one crucial question: will ZANU-PF choose the ballot or the blueprint? For now, the party insists it is the latter, but the country and the region are watching closely.